Hey guys, this week I want us to talk about something that I think is really, really important, especially when we're thinking about who God is and what He's like, and that is shame. When I was a kid, I remember doing things sometimes, probably more oftentimes than I want to talk about, when I would disobey my parents and I would feel ashamed. Um, I remember one time I went to the grocery store with my parents, and I'm not sure where I found it, but I found an action figure there, and I took it home. I stole it, and when I got home, my parents asked me about it, and I'm like, I found it, whatever. I kind of made up some excuse, but they were on to me, and they knew, and I finally confessed, and I felt quite a bit of shame from that, and my parents made me take it back to the grocery store and apologize to the manager of the store. I felt really bad about it. And that's a very simple act. I mean, there are things in my teenage years that I really felt ashamed of that I wish I hadn't done, and even into college years. It's the thing is that we keep doing things we wish we wouldn't do. Paul talks about this in Romans chapter 7, how there's this sinful nature inside us, and we keep doing these things we wish we wouldn't do, and then we do them again, and then we have this feeling of who's going to save me from this sin, who's going to save me from this shame. And he says, thank God it's Jesus, riding in on this white horse to save me from this. And that's exactly what God does with us. Adam and Eve were in the garden, right, at the very beginning. And God says, I want you to live here and enjoy it, but you cannot eat. You can eat from any other tree, but just don't eat from the tree in the middle of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Of course, Satan tempts them, and they give in, and they eat. They just completely disobey God, and so their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked, and that kind of thing, and God is then looking for them, and in chapter 3 and verse 8, 9, and 10, right in there, they're hiding from God, and God's seeking them out. Where are you? Where are you? And they come out and they say, we were hiding because we were afraid. We heard you and we were afraid. I think that's what happens. I mean, we do sinful things, or we disobey our parents, or we disobey God, or we hurt a friend's feelings, or hurt somebody who's close to us, and then we feel this shame, and we're afraid to approach that person again, or we're afraid to approach God, and we've got these feelings that we've got to deal with. That's the result of when we mess up, and we carry this shame. I think it's important to realize that God in the garden, He was seeking them out, right? He didn't just, God knew they messed up, but He was seeking them out. He wanted them to be reconciled, and even after that, actually, God says you're going to be, Adam, you're going to be cursed to work the ground, and Eve, you're going to have pain in childbearing, and He curses the serpent and all that kind of stuff. But He also clothes them. He gives them garments to wear, and doesn't just leave them naked, and He sends them off. And God cares about mankind. He cares about you. He cares about me. He wants us to be reconciled through our sin. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what God did through Jesus. It's because of the blood of Christ. It's because of the death, burial, and this resurrection that we join Jesus in the death, burial, and resurrection. And now we're able to live this life knowing that God has reconciled us back to Himself. We don't have to carry the shame anymore. It doesn't mean that we don't have to care, right? Paul says over and over again, we live to please God. That's our life goal, is to honor God and please Him in our lives. But yet we continue to stumble. We continue to mess up. Sorry for that noise. We keep messing up, and we continue to stumble. So, guys, this week I just want to encourage you to do one thing. A couple of things, I guess. First thing, I want you to think about, what shame are you carrying around? What have you done that you're feeling shame for? And I know that there's probably something, because we all seem like we all kind of carry something around. So what are you carrying? What do you need to deal with? And the second thing I want you to do is, I want you to confess it with God. I mean, would you consider getting on your knees and just sharing that with God, asking him to forgive you? And I would suppose the last thing is if you have done something shameful that is involving someone else other than God, and usually it is, I know it is for me, would you confess that to that person? Would you ask them for forgiveness and try to clear the air between you and that person? I know that's kind of deep. I want to encourage you in your groups, if you guys are talking about this in your groups, I really want to encourage you guys to just talk about what it feels like to carry shame and the courage it takes to deal with that, the courage it takes to approach God, to approach someone, to clear the air. What are the hang-ups in that? Why is it so hard for us to do that? Guys, this is the time to take action. Don't let another day go by where you're just hiding from that pain or hiding from that person or hiding from God. Work through that so you can be reconciled and have peace again. Okay, guys, I love you. Have a great week this week.